I'm going to introduce our panel moderator, the former ambassador from Afghanistan to Canada, Barna Karimi, His Excellency. Barna Karimi is the managing director of a group called Capitalize LLC. And some of you have heard of it. It was founded by His Excellency, former ambassador from Afghanistan to the United States, Saeed Tayyib Jawad. Ambassador Jawad is our latest member of the board of directors. And I got to Capitalize is the kind of private sector firm that we really admire and want to work closely with hand in hand. What do? They stimulate business in Afghanistan by seeking out appropriate investors. They help Afghan businesses negotiate their way through various and sundry financing schemes. I'm sure His Excellency, Mr. Karimi, Ambassador Karimi, will tell you a little bit more about Capitalize, and we're sorry that Jawad is not here. He was called abroad on one of his many ventures to different locations across the globe. So without further ado, Barna, pleasure.
Honorable Dan Ritter, Congressman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues from Afghanistan, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here today, again, after quite some time, back among some friends and talk about Afghanistan. I recently left my post in May of this year as Ambassador of Afghanistan in Canada, so didn't have actually a public speaking engagement since then, so it's good to be back and also in this very elegant and very nice gathering. I appreciate the opportunity that's given to us as a firm and also personally to myself to be the moderator for this panel. It's a great panel, and we will talk about investment and also promoting the private sector in Afghanistan. As all of us hear the news and all the political turmoil that's surrounding Afghanistan, we still think that the opportunities and the timing cannot be better and fit than now for promoting private sector and investment than ever in Afghanistan. What we see today, a gathering like this coming from Afghanistan, a delegation from government to private sector that shows the growth in this sector in Afghanistan since 2001. What we need in Afghanistan is more of this kind of growth and also promotion to make sure that we meet the objectives that we all envisioned about 12 years ago. We wanted it to have a strong private sector to take the responsibility for providing to the people of Afghanistan. What we saw in those clips today, it's a great example of that opportunities that has been raised in Afghanistan in the last decade. So saying that, and for the sake of converting the economy from a project vision to more a market economy, I think we're still in the first steps of a long way. But the good thing about the framework for such conclusion is that we all on the same path and we have the same vision. Working on the 7 key sectors on the private side and also working on the mining industry that's actually opening up with all these new opportunities, and also creating opportunities for private sector after the transition, after the 2014, will all take us to a situation that we will find ourselves more responsible for the future of Afghanistan. So today, we have a good panel to discuss more of these topics. Let me actually shorten my comments here and invite Mr. Alok Kumar Agarwal, the CEO of Maiwan Bank, one of the very successful banks in Afghanistan in the finance industry. And I'm happy to have him here. Let's hear her remarks. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for introducing me as a panelist. And good afternoon, everybody, all the dignitaries, the AACC leadership, and everybody present in the room. It's an honor to be here to represent Maiwan Bank as one of the leading banks operating in Afghanistan on a very crucial topic which has been allocated to me regarding the opportunities in Afghanistan for US correspondent banks. When I talk about it, I am representing the banking sector of Afghanistan as a whole, other than my bank as well. It's a great opportunity for US banks. You know, the US financial sector was in turmoil, and there was a global credit crisis way back in 2008. So the banking itself is highly sensitive. We need to be mindful of whatever we are doing and the way we should be doing it. So Afghan banking sector is modern. The banking is new in Afghanistan, and the banking in Afghanistan endeavors to offer all the products and services which are being offered by other banks around the globe. Whether it is the delivery channels, whether it is products and services, Afghanistan banks are up to speed on that. There are 16 commercial banks operating in Afghanistan, and Maiwan Bank is one of them. Now let me tell you what correspondent banking is. Correspondent banking, it refers to the banking services, mainly the payments, the cash management and trade services which are provided by the banks to the customers via other banks. Now this is a very important thing, as Afghanistan offers an excellent opportunity for US businesses, especially for the US correspondent banks, to offer direct relationships to the Afghan banks. One thing I would like to share with you is the financial inclusion. Around 95% of the population in Afghanistan is unbanked, which is a great challenge. Financial inclusion is a need of the hour, and 16 banks operating in Afghanistan are up to speed to enhance that financial inclusion. The Afghan banking sector, they have witnessed a lot of visible improvement in its size, structure, outreach, and financial health from 2003 to date. And the process of improvement, catching up to international standards, is an ongoing process, and it is still underway. When I'm talking about 16 commercial banks operating in Afghanistan, the breakup is they have almost 2 government banks, 4 foreign banks, and 10 other private banks. I'm sure all of you who are coming from Afghanistan have heard, other than Maiwan Bank, the names of banks like Pashtani Bank, Bank-e-Milli Afghan, Azizi Bank, Bakhtar Bank, Ghaznafar Bank, so on and so forth. So these are, and variety of other banks, these are the leading banks in Afghanistan banking's firmament. And these modern banks offer a lot of products and services, and which have touched many of your lives in Afghanistan. And all these banks, including my bank, are ready to partner with US banks in correspondent banking relationship, and ready to further the partnership with the private businesses who intend to set up shop in Afghanistan already. And some of them who are already there, they want to extend their bouquet of products and services to them as well. Now let us talk about the regulation. There are modern laws and regulations in Afghanistan which are mirroring the international laws. These banks which are operating in Afghanistan are committed to a high level of corporate governance, internal controls, anti-money laundering, CFT laws, with a view to progress on the best practice path. We also have a new AML CFT law which is being ushered in shortly. Let me share something about the Afghan economy. A lot has been talked about, so I would not take much of the time on that. But on the given context, I would like to add that Afghanistan economy is quite dollarized, heavily dollarized rather, and it is import based. The imports are of all variety. They come when you talk about machinery, textiles, everything is imported, barring few exports which are going out from Afghanistan, which are in the nature of dry fruits, carpets, some food processing items, handicrafts, and stuff like that. And these exports and imports are predominantly in dollars. I'm sure with the passage of time, this will improve. The reason why I mentioned about import-export is these have a positive bearing on the correspondent banking, because it is through the international payments, international remittances, that these import-exports are channelized. The international wire transfers involving direct USD clearing services will be a great boon to the Afghan banks. Currently, Afghan banks are doing it through the non-US banks, basically the banks based in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. This will also support trade finance, which is the need of the hour, and trade finance, which will also include letters of credit, letters of guarantee, and so on. So this is beyond the remittances stuff. So this can be focused, which will promote the US-Afghan bilateral trade needs and Afghan trade ties with other countries beyond US. The importers, intermediate companies, agents, and exporters will all benefit apart from all other stakeholders into it. Next slide, please. Next. Correspondent banking is an attractive business. The people in the US businesses are aware of it, and all the international businesses are aware of it. It is a great opportunity. It is still the primary channel to deliver the cross-border banking services, and Afghan payment volumes are increasing with increasing time. They will continue to grow further with time because of increasing business. And I'm sure events like this will add a lot of impetus to the business volumes in Afghanistan, which will have a positive or a cascading effect on the making the correspondent banking business very attractive. It's a sizable business provided along with the trade services, the remittances, etc., can be a great source of US bank revenues as an alternative source. I know that US banks are also going through a tough time following the credit crisis, so this can be an additional opportunity for them as well. So basically, in a nutshell, it is a combination of size, predictability, and growing revenue with good profit potential, which makes correspondent banking services for Afghanistan banks a good business opportunity for the US banks. This will usher in a new dimension to the US-Afghan ties, as I said earlier, while enhancing the correspondent banking via direct USD clearing services for the Afghan banks. So there are various elements and various dimensions associated with it, which will promote the Afghan banking sector, and also the trade relationship and the US banking sector can offer quite a lot on this. It is going to be a win-win synergetic relationship as the Afghan banks continue their march towards the best international practices environment while complying fully with the increased regulations. The US correspondent banking relationships shall cast a domino effect on delivering value-added products and services to the customers and lead to process and product innovation. Without getting into the technical jargon, I would only say that this can be a win-win situation. So let us all work together to make this event a success. And once we go back home, let us think what we can do together to promote trade, which not only encompasses banking, but also other sectors. So when the trade in other sectors is developed, whether it is construction, oil and gas, or import export, or whatsoever, it has a positive effect on the banking as well. So without taking much of your time, I know the time is limited as a panelist to speak. I can only say that it would be great if the relevant agencies, relevant banks in the US come forward. Afghan banks are willing to talk to them, and I can assure you on behalf of the Afghan banking sector and on behalf of my bank that we will do whatever it takes to see that everything is done right and it leads to a synergy and a win-win relationship from the short to long haul. And just 2 words about my bank. My One Bank is a bank of choice in Afghanistan. We are one of the premier banks, and all the banks in Afghanistan, including my bank, offer a variety of delivery channels, variety of products and services, which will be very helpful to all the businesses who are intending to set up shop in Afghanistan, as I said earlier, or who are already there in Afghanistan. So looking forward to serve you. And on the correspondent banking thing, I would like to add that Afghan banks have already existing correspondent banking relationships with good banks in Europe, Asia, and Middle East, including my One Bank. I thank everybody for giving a patient hearing and to take away the food for thought from this discussion, that let us continue to strive to make Afghanistan a land of opportunity. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal. We're honored to have Mr. Qurban Hakjo, the chairman, the chief executive officer of Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce with us today. He will talk about ACCI's role in helping foreign companies and industries invest in Afghanistan. But before that, let's talk about Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce, a great partner for Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce. The Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce created a very good environment for Afghan businesses in Afghanistan. And more than that, they created a very good environment for communication between all these businesses. I have known Mr. Hakjo for the last almost a decade. When he actually started to work at the Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce, I'm not lying if I say that he created from scratch in the beginning a lot of work that he has done, progressed very well, and we see the results. Mr. Hakjo is educated in Afghanistan, Germany, and the United States. He's a great friend, and I have to confess here that I don't like Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce because they stole Hakjo from me when we were working together. So thank you very much for coming, Mr. Hakjo. Please have your mark.
Thank you, Barnajan, for your kind introductions. Once again, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everybody. I know it's last panel and everybody is tired a little bit, right? Or still there's a mood for doing business in Afghanistan, right? Anyway, I'm not going to talk a lot, so I'm giving only 8 minutes. I'm going to use that just briefing you about the ACCI, although you know what is the Chamber of Commerce is doing in Afghanistan, but I designed the presentation in the way that mostly the investors wants to get from an organization like Chamber of Commerce. Since ACCI is a demand-driven and member demand-driven organization, so we basically provide the services that mostly are demanded by the business community. That's why it's good to get this information, and the things about the Chamber of Commerce overall is that the base indicator for our success is your success. It means if you are successful, it means you bring more money in your pocket, and your businesses are successful, and you're doing good job. That indicates that we are doing good job as a Chamber of Commerce. Let me talk with the first slide on the establishment of ACCI. It's the oldest organization in the region. The tradition of Chamber of Commerce in Afghanistan is a long story, established in 1931. This year we become 82 years old, but in 2003, by establishment of AICC, Afghanistan International Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and then we reformed and merged with the governmental one in 2008. Since that, I am the CEO of that organization. So we transformed that organization from the governmental state-owned system, economic system, to a market economy. So we are an apex organization for 21 provincial chambers, as you heard about the Balkh Chamber and Hera Chamber of Commerce, and they are very successful Chamber of Commerces in Afghanistan. So we have in the region, in Afghanistan, 21 provincial chambers, and more than 70,000 members based on the voluntary membership. And our membership fee ranges from $40 to $5,000 per year. Also, we have members from associations, business associations. 59 business associations are under umbrella of ACCI. Together, they represent the 90%, more than 90% of the workforce in Afghanistan. That's, you see that the representation of this organization. And of course, we have 26 subsectors committees where we are discussing policies. Next slide. You see our presence in the Afghanistan. Next slide. This is our international and regional membership in the organizations like ILO, International Labour Organization, Islamic Chamber of Commerce, International Chamber of Commerce, and World Chamber of Commerce, International Route Transportation, ECO Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and SARC Chamber of Commerce. These are the regional organizations in the South Asia, Central Asia, and also beyond the region. Next slide shows the sister organizations that ACCI is working with, and we established some of them actually. You can see with the American Chamber of Commerce in Moscow, we have in Dubai and Turkey, with the Pakistani Chamber of Commerce, Iran, India, Canada, and Britain, and the Netherlands. Next slide, please. What we are doing is there's two major activities of ACCI, basically. One is the advocacy, and the second is the provision of services. Advocacy is the major of our function, basically. That's why our slogan is ACCI, the strongest voice of private sector. Sometimes we are getting too loud to really protect the interests of private sector. That's why the government guys doesn't love us, like us too much. But we are doing a lot in the representation of interests of private sector. That's why we are there, to protect your rights and make sure the rules and regulations and new policies are made based on your interests. And we have enabling environment, and we have a business-friendly environment and a regulatory framework in Afghanistan, and we are taking care for that in Afghanistan. And then services we are providing is investment and trade promotion, legal services and dispute resolutions, business intelligence, basically research and surveys, business development services, and delegated authorities from government, like issuance of a certificate of origin, Form A, and some other activities. So, in the presentation of the private sector, it's next slide, please. It's worth to mention that based off the ACCI suggestions to the government. We established a high economic council, which lead or manage the transition of the economy from aid-driven to the market-driven, as His Excellency Karimi mentioned it, that how we can do it. That's why we felt that there's a kind of disconnection and mismanagement in order to, within the government, in order to attract more investment and lead the economy. Because in past few years, there was a lot of attention and focus was given to the political arrangement in the country, and of course fighting with Taliban and terrorism, and the economy was somehow neglected. And that's why we established that, and President Karzai is heading that. That is the one of we are representing there, and also as we are representing the private sector in the legal committee of the cabinet, headed by first vice president, and the economic committee of the president, second vice president, and high investment commission, and as well as all ministry lines committees. We are presenting the private sector there, and we are working also with the parliament and their committees. Next slide. You can see the recent development is very important for your investment, for making your mind to working in Afghanistan and doing business in Afghanistan. Reactivation of TIR, I mentioned it today in the morning. It's very important for you that the goods that you're producing is not only for Afghan producers, and as well as you can export to the region and to the world. And it's very important that there is a streamlined and single system of transport and transit based on the International Transport Union, which you can transit and export your products and import your products from 58 member countries under one transport and transit system. And Afghanistan is a member of that, and ACCI played a major role in that. Establishment of High Economic Council, I mentioned that, and business climate monitoring is very important for you to making your decision. We are conducting surveys, and based on those surveys that we are presenting a report, quarter base, and there you can see the trends of the economy, where we are going, and what's the difference between so previous report and new. Before I came to US last week, we had our new report on that. It's on our website. You can go and see there was big changes in the sectors, like services and manufacturing, trade, and as well as some constructions in these areas. And you can see what is the climate in Afghanistan, and also the establishment of women business support unit. We felt that we have to give more strength and support to the business women in Afghanistan in order to enabling them to come out from their house and work in the market. Next slide, please. I'm coming to the topic of today's panel. Access to finance, what ACCI is doing. We are conducting roundtables and conferences in order to raising the awareness of the business community about the possibility of getting financing for their projects and businesses. And we signed with the banks in Afghanistan agreements based of introduction of ACCI. They are giving a special offer for lenders. The interest rate will be much lower than as usual they are doing, and donor coordination meeting for those donor organizations that they are lending money or granting to businesses. There's few of them, like Abadi from also from Agriculture Development Fund, Afghan Business Innovation Fund from Britain, and Afghanistan New Market Development Project from Germany. It's actually a World Bank project. So what was lacking there? A coordination. So ACCI took the lead to coordinate among themselves in order to prevent some usage of these funds by some applicants. Anyway, so and also we are coordinating with this fund agencies in order to get proper ways. Okay, that's the last slide. So can you go to the next slide? It's very important that in past 2 days we haven't mentioned about that this slide. There's a new policy for new investors in Afghanistan that you're getting special treatment for your new investment up to end of 2015. For next 7 to 10 years, tax exemptions, tax holidays, easy to access to land, easy access to midterm and long-term credit loans. There's allocated $500 million US dollar by Afghan government. Duty-free for the machinery imports, only 1% customs duty on the raw and intermediate materials, and provision of electricity at the cost of production plus 1/2 is very important for your investment. And last slide, our upcoming project is the Afghanistan Center for Dispute Resolution. With the U.S. government, we are establishing that in a process. It's very important for you to have a mediation and arbitration organization to really address your disputes. And business integrity initiative is another project of ECCI that we want to encourage social responsibilities and making sure that our consumers' rights are protected. And business information center will be launched very soon. You can get all information about the business in Afghanistan and economic trends. All right. Do we have the film? It's 1 minute. Yeah, it's done. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hakjo. Great information. The United States Department of Commerce has implemented a lot of projects, and both in terms of building capacity in the private sector and also in promoting investment in Afghanistan. It's a great privilege to have Mr. Thomas Moonsberg today with us. He is the Deputy Senior Commercial Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, and he will talk about past experience that they had with the private sector in Afghanistan. Mr. Thomas?
Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this afternoon. My name is Thomas Munzberg. I am the Deputy Senior Commercial Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul for the U.S. Department of Commerce. Just a bit of background on myself. I've been in Kabul since January of this year. Prior to my work in Afghanistan, I was the transition advisor to the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Iraq at the State Department here in D.C. Prior to that, I was in Basra, Iraq, working on economic development and the mobilization of the international oil service companies there. Prior to my work in the U.S. government, excuse me, I ran a commercial security integration and non-lethal weapons company out of the United States. And so I bring private sector experience to the government work that's happening now. And I always want to mention that because I think it's important to let you guys know that I'm part of the private sector as well, and I come from that background. So thanks again for the opportunity. And let's see. Yeah, can we go to the first slide? So today I'd like to talk about the emerging trends in the private sector and the historical transition that's taking place. The business climate in Afghanistan has many positive aspects, and there's rapid change happening. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'd like to tell you how we can help you develop business in Afghanistan as well. Next slide. Oh, that's fine. We're there. Afghanistan is emerging from 30 years of war and occupation, as all of you know, with a vibrant private sector. Significant progress has been made since the signing of the Strategic Partnership Agreement, and the business environment has improved greatly. We are seeing new development, new trade ties, and progressive legal framework for business being developed. As Afghanistan approaches the 2014 drawdown of coalition forces, the country is making a rapid transition from a donor-based war economy to a market-based private sector economy. We've seen positive positive growth in GDP through 2012, and we expect positive reports through 2013 as well as 2014. As we approach this next phase of Afghanistan's private sector development, we'll definitely see a major change in the economy, but I believe it will be a healthy change with a permanent and lasting effect. The donor community will be there for years to come, providing support, funding, and capacity building. And as major portions of funding have already begun to decline, we're seeing the economic transition happen now. This transition will be gradual and will bring new opportunities for private sector engagement. Needed resources, once handled by the donor community, will need to be outsourced to private companies, and that's where all of you come into place. And this will be an opportunity for, through this transition, for private companies in Afghanistan to really take hold, and for international and U.S. companies to take hold in Afghanistan as well. The elections, of course, are a major factor for the future of Afghanistan. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but the business community is weighing in on the elections by presenting candidates with their expectations and desires for what they want to see next in Afghanistan, and I think that is a very positive step for an emerging democracy and for an emerging economy. Afghan security forces are in control of the country, and if you were to stand on the streets of Kabul today, you would not see any U.S. military protecting any of the city or maintaining order. And I think this is an important point to consider when you hear about U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. You know, our military is not policing the cities, and Afghans are doing this very successfully on their own, as many of you know. So as we talk about drawdown, we're not talking about the collapse of security in Afghanistan. What we're talking about is a gradual change, and the Afghans are handling that very well. That said, the coalition presence is very important, and that which will be left behind in 2014 will serve as a backstop and a deterrent to insurgent activity in Afghanistan. So it's an important component, and we're hopeful that the BSA will be signed as a result of the recent negotiations in Kabul. Let's see, next slide. So significant changes and positive trends. 85% of the country is covered by a wireless network. Cell phone saturation is over 120%. Ace Hardware, Chevrolet, Ford, Federal Express, DHL, and many other international brands are operating in Afghanistan as we speak. Chevrolet opened up a showroom in Kabul this year with nearly 200 cars on display. It's a really significant event for U.S. business in Afghanistan. Traditional industries continue to grow and prosper as the threat of war and displacement subsides in the rural communities. You'll see the traditional indigenous communities resurge with their products and services as well. Regional and international airlines are expanding operations. Emirates Airlines has announced new daily flights from Dubai to Kabul starting on December 4th. This is a significant milestone for Afghanistan, and I believe a leading indicator of an expanding and growing economy. I think it's outstanding news for Afghanistan that Emirates is coming in. And also, I mean, as many of you probably know, Emirates just purchased $100 billion worth of new airplanes at the Dubai Aviation Expo about 2 weeks ago. So they're obviously poised well to be a significant player in the region, and I'm very encouraged that they're starting to fly in and out of Kabul. Let's see, next slide. Commercial centers are growing and becoming increasingly sophisticated. As you can see from some of these pictures, these retail and grocery outlets in Afghanistan carry brands that are recognized regionally and internationally. That said, international brands and distribution are needed in Afghanistan in order to fill a growing demand by a young population. I think there's plenty of opportunity inside the retail and grocery sector for companies outside of Afghanistan to partner with Afghan companies and provide new products and services that are recognized internationally. Let's see, next slide. New industries are being established. As life normalizes for Afghans, the demand for everyday products and services increases. Ice cream plant in Herat, the new Pepsi plant in Kabul. This is a $220 million Pepsi plant. This is the largest phase 1 Pepsi plant ever built in the world. There are larger Pepsi plants around the world, but the largest phase 1 Pepsi plant ever built in the world is in Kabul. I think that's just really encouraging and outstanding. And also, there's no donor money involved in that. There's no grants, no loans. This is all funding from within Afghanistan. This is funded by the company that built it. So truly private sector development. So along with this theme, construction materials and construction technical expertise is needed in Afghanistan. There are many gaps to fill as you see rapid reconstruction. Next slide, please. Going along with construction, as Kabul rebuilds, the entire city and these projects, funded through Afghan banks and others, such as the Rotana Hotel, which is down in the corner here. The Rotana Hotel is a $220 million project as well. It's being built by a Jordanian developer. It's funded completely by private sector dollars. It's going to be an outstanding marquee hotel. It'll be a 5-star hotel with over 500 rooms, 180 long-term residences, 2 swimming pools, 5 restaurants. I mean, it's truly a world-class hotel. It's right next to the U.S. Embassy, and I think right on Masood Circle, and I think it'll again show an excellent bit of progress for Afghanistan. So, am I running low on time? Okay. So next slide, please. Well, we had an excellent presentation on New Kabul City just yesterday, so I won't talk about that much. But obviously, another really positive aspect to the development of Afghanistan. In the interest of time, next slide. So, that said, Afghanistan is of course a very challenging market. Infrastructure is in need of significant improvement. Power is in short supply. In many areas of the country, not just the regional parts, but it's also in short supply in and around the cities. The workforce lacks qualified and vetted personnel. There's a lot of opportunity for training. Of course, the government lacks some capacity to manage the entire country and handle this new and emerging requirements that are expected of a sovereign nation. There is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done in the legal framework for business. Corruption continues to be an issue in Afghanistan, which hampers the efficiency of the government and complicates business. And security is an obvious issue and a necessary cost of doing business in Afghanistan. But at the same time, many resources in Afghanistan exist in order to mitigate that and to overcome the security issues that remain. Next slide. So the Department of Commerce is here to support and encourage growth in Afghanistan's private sector. Our private sector development in Afghanistan is seen as one of the most important aspects of transition and regional stability. So we will be there for years to come. My hope is that we'll be there for years to come in order to help support and grow the economy in Afghanistan. So moving along, last slide. So we are, myself and Walt Koenig both live and work in Afghanistan out of the U.S. Embassy, and we're here to help. We will continue to provide matchmaking opportunities and to develop and grow the opportunities that exist in Afghanistan and present those to the outside world, bringing our international contacts, our regional contacts, our U.S. contacts into the fold wherever it's appropriate. One thing I'd like to plug for you all as I wrap this up, we will be doing, we've done a series of Afghan Spotlight events in Dubai, and we will do another event on January 15th. This is a one-day free matchmaking event. We speak a little bit about the opportunities in Afghanistan. We draw the top Afghan business community to these conferences. We draw the international business community and a host of U.S. companies as well to talk about the aspects of the Afghan economy and the opportunities that exist there. Once we've been very successful in presenting the opportunities there and then bringing people to Kabul to take a look. It's a kind of dipping your toe in the pool, so to speak. So these have been very successful. Our next event is January 15th. I'll be happy to send save the date flyers to anybody that would like to attend that event. So I'll be available to talk about that immediately afterwards. Again, we're your partner in Kabul. My email and Walt Koenig's email are right there. Please don't hesitate at all to contact us, and we'll do everything we can to make you successful in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mansburg. The TFBSO is now actually a brand name and well-known name in Afghanistan. Before Task Force for Business and Stability Operation was created, some of the activities were done by the Chief of Staff of the IGC, which I actually worked very closely with them when I was in Afghanistan. So all the time, the stability side of that office greatly supported some of the institutions in Afghanistan, and I had a very good experience. When the task force was created, also we heard a lot of good news, a lot of good cooperation modalities between the Afghan institutions and that task force, and also the task force supported the private sector in various occasions. His Excellency Deputy Minister Aris is here. They had a very good experience with task force at the Ministry of Mining. So I'm honored to have Mr. Brandon O'Donohoe, who is an investment specialist, and he will talk about their experience with investing in Afghanistan. So O'Donohoe.
Ambassador, thank you. Honored to be here and on such a distinguished panel following Tom from Department of Commerce. Department of Commerce does some really great work, and they've done some things like Ace Hardware and others. And then my other U.S. government colleague from OPIC, Jeff Constance, filling in for John Aldonis, both excellent. John is probably, he's too humble to say this, but he probably has done more for Afghanistan than almost anyone else I can think of from the economic standpoint for an international agency. My name is Brendan O'Donohue. I'm the head of investments for TFBSO. I'm what my boss, Director Bullion, calls one of our poorly paid investment bankers. And today I'll explain why that is for my team, and also give you some of my thoughts on good opportunities for investing in Afghanistan. In a line, our team, the investment team, tries to do two things: increase the efficiency of Afghan firms and increase the amount of deals that take place in Afghanistan. We've been around. We started in Herat a couple years ago creating with IBM, a small business incubator, and it was focused around technology at the time. We worked first with really micro firms, and one of the things, we went to Herat University, and they had a very good IT department. And so we talked to some of their students, and there's some women who are in headscarves working on their computer programs, and I asked them if they'd ever thought of starting a company. Of course, the answer is no. So we had this very ambitious plan to work on an incubator. Had some successes there. One of the founders of one of our original 7 firms was just ranked one of the 100 most influential people by Time Magazine. So I think it's a big achievement for Afghanistan. Sheryl Sandberg said she's changing the way Afghan women see themselves, in addition to spreading her business. You can probably also have read about some of our companies in Fast Company, some of the IT companies who are our original firms. Since then, we've really expanded. We're working with a lot of light manufacturing companies. So these firms aren't as, maybe not as high profile, they're not in magazines, but they're some of the firms that we've had to go out and find. They're often the ones who look poorer than they are. I'm sure a lot of you know, in Afghanistan, you often don't want to flaunt your money. You want to make sure that you're doing great work, but you're not bound to extortion or higher taxes. So we've gone out, we've found a lot of these firms. We try and help them with their business plans. We help them with their operations. And since then, we've been doing this for about a year. We're going to now work with the American University of Afghanistan on helping to create a sustainable accelerator. AUAF one of the best universities in Afghanistan, has a great law school, has a great business school. We want to leverage some of that. So it's important with everything we do to make it sustainable. So we've been working with AUAF for the last 6 months on beginning this. We've also been lucky enough to grab some of Roshan's top employees to help run it. So we'd like to see this as really the center of business activity. The other thing we do is we really try and get deals done. In Afghanistan, it takes a lot of time to do any deal like anywhere, but in a country where so few international investors know it, there's so little information available. We try and provide as much information as possible to anyone who wants to invest. And so this often means going and finding these firms that are often, we say, Zerang. They're very, very savvy, but they don't have the proper accounting systems in place. They can't present their information to investors. So how do we get those companies ready and present those to investors? And how do we get investors and answer all their questions? And how we put them together? It's a little bit more than matchmaking. It's really investment facilitation, which is why we're the poorly paid investment bankers. So we're trying to provide that bandwidth. A lot of deals that would take place in any other country in the world don't take place in Afghanistan because of the amount of effort that goes into this. And so that's what we're there for. The other parts of TFBSO are often working with the ministries and are top down. We are very much bottom up. We're working directly with firms, many of firms like yours, I'm sure, and we're trying to help increase these deals. The more deals that take place, the deals, if they're commercial, they're going to be sustainable. And that the more that you can do, the faster you can increase every phase of development. So I think this is an important thing, not only for what we do in Afghanistan, for a model that you can really spread. I don't know of many other organizations that do it quite like ours. USAID has some good programs in Africa to do this. But I think it's something that can be pushed as well. Finally, I'll keep this short. I know everyone it's had a long couple of days. Some opportunities I think could be very good for Afghanistan. If I were allowed to put my money in it, I would. The first, the Ministry of Mines has been working on the cement tenders. I think cement's a great opportunity. In Afghanistan, you often want to invest in things where you can't do it anywhere else. If there's poor roads, it's a big advantage. If there's high transportation costs, it's a big advantage. So cement is one of these natural monopolies where you can really make money hand over fist. And I'm very confident the Ministry of Mines and Petroleum will be able to have successful tenders. Other ones, residential housing. If you think about all the money that's gone into construction over the last decade into Afghanistan, largely into things that utilize the resources for the international community, this will now start to transform and go more towards Afghans' residential housing. If you look at the population of Kabul at the start of the war, it was under 1 million, or it's over 6 million probably today. 2020, it'll probably be 8 million, and it's growing. In addition, if you're building in a place like Kabul, the regulations are going to improve over time. You're going to have more and more opportunities for access to financing, mortgage laws that will continue to grow, and your customers are coming to you. The other one, if I had an opportunity to partner with a company that has a good distribution network, I would do that. In places like Afghanistan, it's very hard to access all parts of the country. But a lot of the firms, especially those that focus on consumer products, that focus on pharmaceuticals, are really able to get around the country and have a big advantage. It'd be hard for anyone else to penetrate. And then telecoms, over $20 billion has been invested in telecoms over the last decade in Afghanistan. And there's still opportunities there. The low-hanging fruit has been picked, but there's other opportunities as well. My team and my organization would be happy to help you if you're interested in any of these sectors. If you're a local firm that needs help, if you're an international investor who'd like to invest. We don't provide grants. What we do is we try and really provide the bandwidth. So if you need due diligence, improving your operations of your firm, if we can answer some of these questions for you, we'd be happy to. Please see me afterwards if we can be of any help, or my colleagues who are sitting over there in the corner and much better looking than I, are waving their hands. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have Mr. John Aldonis with us today, the Chief of Afghanistan Loan Program, but we have, luckily, Mr. Jeffrey Constance from OPEC. He is the Director of Asset Management there. And let's invite him so he can talk to us about their experience in financing in Afghanistan.
afternoon. John Aldonis is a tough guy to fill in for. He's Mr. Afghanistan at OPIC. He spent some 6 months in a PRT. I think his son was with the Marines. And so he has done more than you can imagine in support of the business sector in Afghanistan. Just for my own edification and to target this presentation, how many people, if they've heard the phrase OPIC, do they confuse it with OPEC? Anybody? I've had that happen. We're the money, they're the oil, so that's kind of how you keep it straight. OPIC is basically the U.S. government's development finance agency, so you can think of us as a bank, essentially. And we also have an insurance program where we'll cover things like political risk and acts of violence. And in both of those programs combined in Afghanistan, we've managed to do close to $300 million worth of business. The lion's share of that is the direct lending. Here we go. now we're cooking. Can I get the next slide? So that shows us where OPIC does business in the dark colored areas, and it indicates that our portfolio currently is $16 billion worldwide. And from that, we just had a press release showing that we made the American taxpayer some $400 million by doing what we do in a sustainable way and making more money than we spend in the process. So we're very comfortable with the business community, lending in areas that we can benefit them from a development standpoint, but we do it in a way that is self-sustaining for OPIC and have been doing it for the last 40 years or so. And again, the fellow I'm substituting for has been there for probably 30 of the 40 years. So he's the dean of development finance. Can I get the next slide? So that shows you a little bit of the breakdown of our portfolio. Insurance at the top at $3 billion, investment funds, which is a fairly recent product. And then most of our exposure is in investment finance, which is direct loans to business people such as yourself. The next slide. So here again are some of the deals that we've done that comprise the $297 million. We've done a bumper business with the Afghan diaspora. The Afghan-Americans qualify for OPIC lending, and we've done housing, hotel, milk and juice projects, food storage, and we're currently, our portfolio level is about $216 million. As it happens, I'm actually the person in charge with collecting our portfolio. So I think John turned to me when he wasn't able to make it, where we comprise somewhat of a team. He develops the business and gets it booked and then turns it over to me. So I will be at the one-on-one directly after this. If you owe me some money or you owe OPIC some money and you brought your checkbook, I'll catch up to you there. Next slide. We did, in fact, put some money into the hotel that's going up next to the embassy, quite a bit of it, and we're hoping that that's going to be a fabulous success. The next slide. Very attractive condo units. I think this was one of the first mover transactions. I don't even think the real estate record room was quite settled at the point that we jumped in and made a loan to add to the housing stock, which was in short supply. Miraculously, I think we made this loan pretty much unsecured, because of the condition of the real estate records in the country. And typically you don't do that in real estate transactions, but it turned out fine. They sold them like hotcakes and we got paid out, which is very important to us. Next slide. You can't really do business in Afghanistan and not bump into somebody who's involved in the carpet business, and so we've made a few of those loans as well, and it's turned out well. We've done carpet loans, and also we've gone down to cashmere trading. We've got a fellow that makes a market in raw cashmere, and we've provided some liquidity for him to carry a higher inventory. Next slide. We're moving marble in the Herat area. It's some fantastic white marble, and we look for that project to season and cash flow and repay its OPIC loan. Next slide. So John continues to bang away, and he's got a pipeline of some 60 million as we speak, and it's spread across the sectors listed there. Part of our effort there is to work closely with an outfit called Afghan Growth Finance, and I see my good friend in the audience from CEF, Ms. Collier, who's an executive with CEF, and we've had a wonderful relationship with Afghan Growth Finance. Next slide. This is how you might get a hold of them if you're local there and you want a local financing presence. We've got money out to Afghan Growth Finance. They in turn use that money and lend to small businesses in Afghanistan. And I'd have to say it really helps if you have local banking connections, because they can come by on a regular basis and help you move the business forward. Most of OPIC is here, somewhat landlocked ourselves, up on New York Avenue, so we'll come by maybe once or twice a year, whereas Afghan Growth Finance is there working the market diligently. Next slide. Again, this is more information on Afghan Growth Finance. There's a fellow there, Mustafa Kazim, who's the managing director. Can't make him out in the picture, but he's second from the right. Excellent banker, very knowledgeable, and can help you get your business going and properly financed. Next slide. This is basically how Afghan Growth Finance operates. They've got a practical approach in their lending practice, and can do some of the help with capacity building so that the business operates profitably. Next slide. There is another player. We don't have a direct relationship with them. It's ARFC. They were put in business by USAID and ACDI VOCA. But they too are supported by the United States government in a way, and are available for small loans similar to but slightly different than Afghan Growth Finance. The next slide, maybe the most important, if you take a note, and I apologize for the blue on blue, wasn't meant to be masked quite like that, but that's our website, and that would be a great place to start. It's www.opic.gov. And if you have an interest or think OPIC can help you out in any way, that would be a great place to start your investigation. And then there's contact information for our very own John Aldonis as well. So we're in Afghanistan, and we will continue to be in Afghanistan post-2014. Thank you very much.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you, Mr. Constance. And our last panelist today will be Mr. David Harting. the Vice President for International Executive Service Corps, which actually they have worked through a program, a USAID program, Abadi. So now I would like to ask him to come here to the podium and share their experience with us in Afghanistan.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Appreciate it. I'm not sure if it's worse to be the last speaker before lunch or the last speaker on the last panel of the day, but I'll try to keep it short. I just have 2 slides. I'm largely going to speak to my notes, from my notes. I'm David Harding. I'm with the International Executive Service Corps, IESC. We are a 50-year-old international economic development not-for-profit. We've been working in Afghanistan since 2007. We are currently implementing 2 large-scale programs in Afghanistan, one of which is the Change Management Capacity Building Program with the Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation, and Livestock, MAIL, in Kabul, and actually in the Dales around the country, and that's a United States Department of Agriculture funded project. And the reason that I'm here today is actually regarding the United States Agency for International Development, USAID funded project Abadi, Assistance in Building Afghanistan by Developing Enterprises program. And I should note, our president and CEO, Ambassador Tom Miller, spoke on this panel last year, and he unfortunately couldn't be here today. He is out of the country, but he sends his regards to everyone. Abadi is a 4-year program. We've just finished our first year, 3 years remaining. I suppose many of you know about it. I'd be curious, actually, just to get a show of hands, how many people here are based in Afghanistan? Just to get a sense of the audience. Yeah, okay, thank you. Abadi is a 3-component program. The first component is small and medium enterprise and public-private innovation alliances. And this is by far the largest component of the program, and I'll talk about it in a little bit of detail in a moment. The second component of the program is technical assistance and business advisory services, where we provide technical assistance to enterprises and subaward recipients and program stakeholders. I should note the objectives of the Abadi program are very much aligned to supporting USAID's objectives, which are strengthening the productivity of enterprises throughout Afghanistan. We're increasing foreign and domestic investment through the program. We are stimulating employment, and we are improving sales of Afghan products. The third component of the project is the business enabling environment component, where we're working with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, as well as ISA, the Investment Support Agency, and also helping to resolve demand-driven issues that the companies that we're working with are facing as it pertains to the business enabling environment. If we could go to the next slide. And I'm just going to leave this slide up here and talking about the first component of our project, because this is the key place for anyone who's interested in going, is to go to our program website that has the 2 different components, the 2 different elements of SME and innovation alliances. It has the information. The requests for applications are posted there. They're actually posted on Afghan bids. The templates are there. They can be filled out and submitted to our team. We have a team of people in Kabul as well as in Mazar and Herat that will work with applicants, companies that seek to apply for public-private alliance funding. The 2 different elements of public-private alliance funding. The first one is small and medium enterprise alliances. It's working with small and medium enterprise companies. We're demand-driven, so we're open to any industry, any geography within Afghanistan that seeks to apply for public-private alliance funding. The matching on that funding is 1-to-2, meaning that we are providing the public funding, the U.S. government funding, in the ratio of 1, whereas the small and medium enterprise is providing at least double that amount in their own funding, whether collateral or whatever it may be. There is some flexibility there. The second area of opportunity for funding under the program are public-private innovation alliances. And these are open to for-profit as well as nonprofit entities, and they could be foreign as well as domestic. In terms of the way that we have this structured and what our targets are for the program, roughly 90% of the public-private alliances that we'll be completing over the 4 years will be in the first area, small and medium enterprise alliances, and roughly 10% will be in the innovation alliances that are open to for-profit or non-for-profit, doing innovative or riskier type of activities. The funding match on the second area, the innovation alliances, is 1-to-1. So we recognize that this is an opportunity to do something that might not be as mature. It might not be as mature of a business or as mature of an idea, perhaps a little bit more risky, innovative. So there's a little bit more leeway there. As I noted, it's demand-driven. The applicants can come from anywhere within Afghanistan, any sector. It's a 2-stage process for people who seek to apply. The first stage is a 3-page concept note. If you click on those links on our website, it will take you to that 3-page concept note. We'll walk you through it. You complete it, and you submit it. Applicants who have their concept notes pre-approved are asked to submit a full application that is more thorough and more detailed, and there's other elements to it that could include things that we would do in concert with the applicant, such as an environmental assessment, et cetera, just to make sure that we're compliant with what we need to do under our award with USAID. I can give you some ideas of what we've done so far. We have a pipeline of applicants in the concept notes and the full public-private alliances, and in the hundreds at the moment. We've currently got, I think, 22 fully approved public-private alliances, hundreds more that are pending, that are working their way through the process. These PPAs generated a total investment of more than $28 million US, and 79% of that came from private sector funds, and 21% of that came from funds under Abadi, US government funds. And these initial PPAs that we're funding will create almost 5,800 jobs, with 2,400 estimated to be direct and 3,400 indirect jobs. And just to give you an idea of some of the companies that we're funding, it ranges across the gamut, and it shows you the dynamism of the private sector in Afghanistan, ranging from pine nut processing to processing of figs, apricots, and peanuts, point-of-sale e-commerce solutions for a technology company, assistance with production in washing liquid, industrial minerals, ice production, box packaging, female sanitary napkins, a color packaging printing line, helping a company in Herat open up a second restaurant. We've got 4 innovation PPAs that are signed and approved already, and more coming behind, and those are the slightly riskier. These include a compost organic fertilizer manufacturing, production of children's books, operation of a low-cost server for an IT company, and a used tire and plastic recycling company. So it's interesting. Somebody noted that you always run into somebody who's developing carpets or selling carpets. So far, we haven't done that just yet. It shows you the dynamism of the private sector in Afghanistan and how diverse it can be. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you very much for your time.
So with this, let me conclude the very last panel in this conference. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming today here and attending the conference and being part of this panel. Some great information were exchanged, and I hope it was useful for all our guests and friends here also. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ambassador. I want to thank this excellent panel. I want to just put in a word for our friends at the Asian Development Bank. You've heard that Asian Development Bank, ADB, mentioned many times in the course of the last 2 days. I can tell you they are very good friends of AACC. Joji Takeshi is a very good friend. He's the representative there. He could not in any way, shape, or form make it. The head of the North American ADB, the so-called representative in North America, is Craig Stephenson, who was in, some of you may know him, was at ADB for 3 years prior to Joji Takeshi. He's in Manila. Then we tried to track down 2 other ADBers who had some knowledge of the Afghanistan program, and they were out of the country. I guess ADBers travel a great deal. They are, I am told that by Joji that he is here in spirit, that ADB looks forward to working with AACC and those of you in the future. But they did belong on this panel, and unfortunately, or really on the construction panel as well, since they are funding a great deal of the main infrastructure projects, largely through on budget with the Ministry of Public Works, but also work with MAI, the Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation, and Livestock. Now, that having been said, because probably some of you are worrying, where's ADB? You know, they should be here. They couldn't be. I want to thank, as we go towards the one-on-ones, I want to thank once again Sahar Javitash, who many of you work with as you register for the conference, as you have questions, get visas and all that, and the tremendous work that she has done. She is our one paid staffer, and we love her dearly, and she will be receiving a lovely gift, but she was too modest to receive this gift in front of all of you. She's a very modest person. I want to thank, there's Sahar. Okay, stand up, please, and let's give her a big hand. It's a beautiful crystal baccarat vase. So, anyway, want to thank retired Lieutenant Colonel Ed Corcoran. Ed has been handling the one-on-ones and the panel discussions. Thank you so much. Ed, please raise your hand. Let's give him a big round of applause. I'm not sure David Begg is here today, but he was helping set up all last week. I don't think he's a former vice president of AACC. His family is very much involved in large businesses in Afghanistan. Arsalan Lutfi, brother of Suleiman, has been a great help. Wherever you are, Arsalan, thank you. That's the whole, the Tri-Vision team has our back. And Parisa and Peter Wayman, I don't see Peter here today, do I? No. And a number of others. But in any event, I want to thank them very much. And again, thank our great collaborators in Afghanistan, the Afghan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And we do have as Kabir pointed out, we do go back to 2003. And also ABA, we also go back to 2003. And thank you, excellent panel. Thank you, Ambassador. And we can adjourn now and get to our one-on-ones. So please put up with some limited chaos in the interim as we reform these tables into the one-on-one networking tables. Thank you all, and probably this is the last chance we have to say thank you for coming here.